Hey guys, welcome. Today's drop features Fig, co-founder of Squid Router. Squid provides easy widget integrations and fully customizable API and SDK integrations to power cross-chain activity across 80 plus EVM and Cosmos chains. Welcome, Fig. It's awesome to have you on.
Hey, Edward, thanks for having me on. Great to be here.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure you won't remember, but we very briefly met at one of your events during NearCon. I think it was in 2022. It was an Aurora event. You were talking there, and it's funny that our paths should now cross again through
Yeah, right.
Portals. I just remember your presentation really well.
Man. Yeah, right at the beginning of Squid, we was it 2021, halfway through 21 we started, and then finally we're getting like conference spots probably in 22. So yeah, nice.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was all about cross-chain composability. I remember it vividly. Took a lot of takeaways. Obviously, things have progressed a huge amount since 2022, and I can't wait to dig deeper about everything now. So yeah, I would love you to just maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Squid.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my background comes from all over. I was studying to be a doctor. I was in medical school, and quickly, like, I tried to do some startups during that, and got some advice from mentors that if you want to do startups in medicine, you're just going to end up doing accounting software because the regulations are so tight that that's all they really let you do. Like you can't even look at patient details or, get into the physical realm with people's bodies. But so I left that looking for something a bit more creative, a bit more where I could experiment and taught myself to code, worked as a designer, got into tech. Then I worked in finance for a short while. Finance has a lot of similarities to medicine in that you can't really solve the situation. You can just sort of get the best that you can get given your circumstances. And there's also a lot of like really emotional things in finance. Same with medicine, when you get a disease, when you lose money, when you make money. So I really loved like applying the medical things to my finance job. I was an analyst looking at medical investments, then looking at also like wealth management for family offices. And during that though, I saw a lot of middleman activity where people would essentially extract huge amounts of money for very little value, or maybe some value that they just copy pasted across all the different clients. And I thought that technology could really, there's this huge opportunity for technology to like make the system way more efficient, get people better products, better outcomes without spending as much, without higher fees. And crypto really like filled that vision for me, filled that place. And had a couple co-founders, Christina and Kodo, who we all quit our jobs at the same time, sort of shared this vision and got started. And I guess I can talk about Squid, but that's my personal journey. Been doing Squid since that was in 2021. So it's been about 4.5 years now.
And when you learned to code, what did you start with?
I actually started with Python.
Okay.
I was doing some AI stuff about 10 years ago now, just learning about neural nets, how to apply them. But really where I did most of my work was JavaScript and TypeScript, like doing front ends. I did a mobile app and also did some medical research. Because my friends still in medical school, they were doing like research in different labs and, trying to get the qualifications. And so I did sort of data, statistics, this kind of thing.
With at that time you didn't have your eyes set on Web3 or anything back
Not
then.
at all. No,
Right,
Web3 wasn't in the picture at all. Web3, when I got started, I was like learning to code smart contracts, build a trading bot on chain, like this kind of thing. Yeah.
By the way, we've just completed our integration at Portals.fi of Squid. Yeah.
Huge. Only a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah. So cross-chain apps are live officially. Brings a whole new dynamic to our platform. So on that note, actually, let's get a bit more technical. Could you tell us exactly what Squid does and how you're simplifying cross-chain swaps?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the integration. Like this is something we've had in the vision since the beginning. What Squid does is we let you get any token on any chain, across chain. So if I have USDC on Arbitrum, I can buy BNB or XRP or Solana or anything, shitcoins as well. Always in one click, instantly or within seconds, very low fees. And we've always had part of our vision as well, not just that you can get tokens, but you can also do something with them. in the same transaction, because crypto has this like programmable finance thing about it, which I think is really exciting. And you guys have been pioneering these like single click DeFi actions, being able to interact with like the entire DeFi universe in like one simple API. And we thought that cross-chain is going to be needed to bring that to the world, because if you want to interact with, say you're going into a liquidity pool position or a lending position, trying to get some yield, and there's an opportunity on BNB chain or, Optimism base, the user doesn't really want to think about having to go between chains. We want to like abstract that completely away. So what we thought is that in order for you guys like you to be able to build applications that were fully chain abstracted, we were going to need cross-chain swaps plus programmable actions on top. So you can swap USDC to BNB and then call a smart contract. We call these pre-hooks and post-hooks. And that's always been like a really core feature of Squid, and that retains this programmability that crypto has. And we're finally seeing it like be put to really good use in like applications like you guys. So that's what Squid does. Kind of came out of this explosion of chains in 2021 where Ethereum wasn't scaling. It's clear that we need rollups and other chains, Solana, etc., to scale crypto. And in order to improve user experience and make things really simple, you're going to need cross-chain swaps and programmable swaps.
It's really cool. And obviously we've got quite a broad range of partners, right? Protocol partners. So now we've gone out to them with our cross-chains apps being live, and the response has been fantastic. So we should see quite a big adoption soon.
Amazing.
And I was going to ask as well. So it's very well having the simplified version of, of not needing to think about what you're holding and what chain you're on and whatnot. What about fees? Do you think soon you'll be able to choose? I just want all my fees to be on one chain, on one network.
Yeah, we thought about this. You mean from your point of view? Or yeah. So the way Squid works with fees at the moment is that every transaction you do takes, if there's a fee, which we currently don't take fees anywhere, but if an integrator wants to charge a fee, or if we're taking a fee for some reason, it comes out of the transaction on the cheapest chain. So we choose say you're going from Ethereum to Arbitrum, we'll take the fee on Arbitrum because the gas costs to take that fee are lower over there. And you end up with your fees being like spread out across all our chains, which is, I didn't say it earlier, but we're in 100 chains. So you can have this like really disparate set of like wallets, which you need to like collect into one balance if you want to use them. And we thought about doing this, abstracting this for teams like you guys and for ourselves, but we think that it's not a huge problem, because I think if it was for users where an individual user doesn't know much about crypto and is only using the product maybe a few times, it's definitely a pain for them to like collect all their fees into one wallet. But for guys like you and I, like it probably only takes you like 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes you can use Squid's app to swap everything into USDC on base. And we think maybe just doing that once a month is fine for now. We've always thought about, we could build a front end where you just log in and then you just tap, you're like, I want to sell down all these positions and then to base USDC, and then it just does it all for you in one go. Maybe we'll do that as a hackathon one day. If it's useful for you, maybe we will.
Could be cool. To be discussed. Well, let's talk numbers. If I'm not mistaken, you've got 5 billion in routed volume, correct?
Yeah,
more,
I think
probably
so.
now, and
probably more than 5 at this point. Yeah.
2.5 million transactions. These numbers are pretty cool. Like, what do you think's driven this kind of adoption? Do you think it's down to DeFi itself as a sector, or what? And what has Squid itself done and brought to the table?
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a really loyal fan base who use Squid regularly now. And I think they use it. We had a lot of in the early days that like Squid just works and you use us and it's reliable. It's a lot of cross-chain early on. You could start your transaction, it gets stuck for like two days, and you don't know if you're ever going to get your money back. And it's really scary. We've got that down really low, and we have a really good support team to make sure you feel safe, even if your money's taking longer than it should. And they just use us to move money around. I mean, there's all sorts of use cases in DeFi where you need cross-chain. I think we've been lucky to service those. Like in the early days, it was airdrop farming. Everyone was farming these new chains, hoping that they get an airdrop. But there's a lot of operators, like teams like you guys, who will have just tokens on one chain they need to move across for their company operations. There's people exploring new ecosystems because they hear about an app that they want to explore, but all their money's on Solana. They use us to get their money over to Moonbeam to explore that app. And then, I mean, it goes on and on. We've got asset issuers as well, stablecoins. Stablecoin teams want users to be able to access their coins, and they also sometimes want to expand their offering. Maybe there's stablecoins just on Base, but they want to take it over to Arbitrum or BNB or Solana. They'll use us to do that. And then once they might use one of our partners, Axelar, to move their token across, and then they can use Squid's API to sort of rebalance the stablecoin between chains. Rattling off a bunch of use cases, but we've just been really fortunate that there are more and more chains launching every day. I thought it was going to slow down because the airdrop, we don't need any more EVM chains. No one needs another EVM chain at this point, but they're still launching them. There's more and more getting announced, and yeah, we're going to be there on those EVM chains.
What's your turnaround time?
Man, it used to be really long. It used to take a while, but we've now got it down to about 6 hours. But yeah, there's preparation, and we have a QA process. So when we do things by the book, it takes longer. But if we need to really crunch, make it happen, it's really fast.
Everything you do is super complex, right? Everything under the hood, working away there. And I recently read quite an interesting article about Squid, actually, from a guy called Ryan Scott. And he came up with the perfect analogy, which is, think of it as a super smart GPS for your digital assets, guiding them through the DeFi jungle with minimal gas fees and maximum efficiency. I love it. And how does Squid's architecture, we're going to reference Axelar as well. So how does Squid's architecture using Axelar using Axelar for the routing and gas abstraction, how does it deliver such speed and reliability?
Totally, yeah. I mean, we've our most recent protocol that we've developed is an intent-based protocol, which uses I'll just run through an example. So it uses market makers under the hood to have a huge amount of benefits. Market makers are extremely technically savvy teams. They've got good pricing, got access to centralized exchange liquidity. But we use them as well as Axelar to create this very safe permissionless service where you can get any token. So let's say let's just do a token swap. We can do ETH to BNB. Very simple. You go to the Squid app or Portals app or any API integration. You get a quote for BNB to ETH, and once you've accepted that, you sign a transaction on the source chain, and that locks up your BNB in an escrow account. That escrow isn't owned by anyone. Squid can't withdraw that money. That's just sitting there on chain, and it follows the protocol's logic. And then the market maker, we call them solvers in crypto, but essentially that's what they usually do in market making. They witness that the escrow has happened, and they trust that the protocol will function correctly, so that they fill now the order on the destination chain using ETH, out of their balance. They just send ETH to the user. And then once those two things happen, at that point, the user has their money. They're done. And so, deposit, as soon as the market maker witnesses, they send ETH to the user. It's often less than a second. It's really, really fast. And then later on, we initiate the protocol so that it verifies the ETH fill on the destination chain, and the deposit was correct on the source chain. And it sends a message via Axelar back from the destination chain to the source chain to verify both of these things, and then releases the escrow, sends it to the market maker. And Axelar, just briefly, they're actually a blockchain where every validator is also running nodes of all the connected blockchains. So it's really serious stuff. Each validator has a ton of infrastructure. And so every message that goes between chains is essentially validated by this set of 75 Axelar validators who are also running full nodes of every other chain. So it's definitely the highest security cross-chain protocol out there. And that's why we originally chose them, because we believed in the security and the decentralization of it. And so you get really the best of both worlds. You get this extreme security and extreme speed. And I didn't go into costs, but it's basically we just minimize. It's a lot of smart contract wizardry that we've just got it down to very low, and it's super cheap now.
That's great. And I get a sense you're gearing up for institutional scale. Can you talk a bit more about that? The
Yeah.
security side obviously is a big thing, and you're focusing quite heavily on that right now.
Yeah. The security is really, really important for these guys. And, we already have compliance in the Squid system. We've spent a lot of time. We actually built our own sort of bespoke compliance service, which can reference other systems. And so everything that goes through Squid is screened. We don't store anyone's information or anything, but if it is an account that's hacked someone before or is sanctioned, we just won't provide a quote and they won't be able to use the protocol essentially. So that's really good for that's really, but we've been spending a lot of time this year with Ripple, who aren't very well known, maybe in the Ethereum ecosystem or generally in the DeFi ecosystem, but they have done an amazing job of just constantly driving the TradFi kind of adoption of crypto since 10, 15, I don't know how long they've been around. It's like 13 years now. They've been just preaching this from the rooftops, and a lot of people would argue that it just wasn't feasible, but it now is. I've been working a lot with Ripple and just seeing the adoption that they're having. So we're working with them on some things around institutional adoption, supporting them, their blockchain, their ecosystem. It's been amazing to see the number of suits that are finally here and want to hear about crypto, want to make it a reality for their companies too. I think there's an element of them not getting left behind. They have to adopt this or drown or fall behind.
So what's the landscape look like then? You've got
Yeah.
you guys. Is anyone else actually positioned that well right now for institutional flows?
Yeah, I think for institutional flows, you need. Sorry, I didn't go into much of the specifics of what we do as well. We have designs or essentially, we have a product where you can do very, very large size, and there's payments projects. There's, big institutions that move a lot of money around or maybe trade large amounts of money who want more liquidity than the average DeFi user. It's interesting with TradFi, essentially you need to slow everything down to get more liquidity because, TradFi works on this T+1 model or even more, T+3. And it's funny seeing that because crypto is atomic, but it's actually beneficial to have slow atomic or not non-atomic T plus something transactions if you want to go really big. And the Squid's perfect for this because Coral is already asynchronous. Like you escrow and then you fill, and there's delay in between. If you just extend that delay, you can get much, much larger size because no. Yeah, if you make it hours, if you extend it so that you don't get filled instantly, we can offer much larger size, sort of, and essentially infinite liquidity if we extend out the time period that you get filled. Yeah, it's a really cool model, and it's already had a lot of interest from institutions. But the types of institutions are there's asset issuers, there's funds, there's obviously traders, wealth managers, there's banks. It's going to be interesting what happens with stable coins and banks. I mean, essentially they're the same thing, but yeah, they're all coming, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to be faster than we expect at this point. Yeah.
So what about KYC, AML, settlement windows, internal risk controls, all of that?
This stuff is really interesting because a lot of them want that and they won't do any business if it's not KYC'd. We already do AML, so I think that's fine, but KYC we don't do. And I'm not sure if we actually want to do KYC. I think we can service the protocol, and then if the counterparties want to do KYC with each other, we can essentially whitelist. Okay, whenever you use Squid, you're only going to get matched with counterparties you've whitelisted and KYC'd with. But we're not going to do the KYC or run because we don't have licenses. We don't ever want to have licenses. We're just building technology. But I think that again, it's been interesting to see that even though we don't necessarily provide, a service of matching counterparties or whatnot there, the technology is still really useful for these guys. And I've heard a lot of them say that the faster settlement, even if it is longer than, 5 seconds, it's still less than 1 day or 3 days. The verifiability that blockchains provide, these are all actually useful to the traditional guys that I've talked to. So that's where Squid would come in and provide technologies. We essentially allow counterparties to do peer-to-peer transactions with each other across any chain in a really secure way, compliant way.
But you also have trade-offs, right? Technical trade-offs. So if you're, built for high volume, low latency environments, you then have these like latency versus security, settlement time versus decentralization. How did you choose like which direction to build?
Yeah, well, for our product, we focused on latency and cost. But I think these trilemmas that get talked about, and especially in cross-chain, aren't actually real. Like we've actually got the best security. Like we use Axelar. We've got 5-second fills, and we've got the lowest costs of any smart contract based intent protocol. So we've actually got the best of like all worlds. And we haven't had to make too many trade-offs. I think there is a trade-off where if you want really large liquidity, you need to slow down. And that's a really interesting space because you start to, it looks like the protocols like CCTP, Layer 0's OFT, Axelar's ATS, Wormhole's NTT, these protocols are going to be better at doing extremely large size fast than say a protocol like Coral, which is based on liquidity, but you still can't do swaps with any of those. And cross-chain needs swaps in almost all cases. Like maybe you want to move some USDC around, that's great. But if you want to like make a payment from one ecosystem to another or transact with someone they hold everything in USDT versus USDC, then you're going to need to swap. It's still going to be a huge like requirement in the future. There's cross-chain swaps and big liquidity.
Nice. On the finance side, you've touched a bit on going institutional. You're probably angling towards FX like swaps, maybe one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, like, we're going to have to incorporate a new framework, I guess, traditional finance workflows and things. There's a risk of compromising decentralization. How do you plan to incorporate these traditional workflows into decentralized architecture without actually compromising decentralization?
Yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm not that optimistic. I think they're going to become pretty centralized. I think a lot of them will become centralized. Where I'm optimistic is I think the decentralized ones will probably be more efficient and eventually still win. But there's, it's been interesting actually, like working really closely with Ripple because they have an amazing liquidity. They've got this insane treasury. They've got a great markets team. And so they can fill orders just as well or really better than a lot of decentralized protocols. And then I know the same thing's happening with like, Fireblocks has got doing their own thing as well as a centralized system. As far as I know, all the market makers, Wintermute does OTC, and like a lot of the traditional guys are just going to need something which is as cheap and compliant as possible. And I don't know if crypto is going to be able to like really do better than that. We've already seen in cross-chain Relay, incredible product. They came out with something that was like Coral 2 years before us because it was centralized. And it's, we've spent all this time building Coral to be a decentralized version of essentially what Relay was able to do very easily just with a centralized system. And our costs are finally down to basically where they're at. And
Wow.
we can be cheaper now because there's some benefits in that the decentralization allows us to work with more market makers, so our spreads can be tighter than Relays. But for all the other more technical purposes, we're essentially the same as a centralized system. So I'm like still thinking about what I'm trying to find where decentralization really beats TradFi when you get into these like larger TradFi like battlegrounds. I'm not sure if it's going to win. We'll see.
Well, but then you have to build for counterparty and execution risk, right? Like slippage controls, fallback paths.
Yeah, well, that's where decentralization always wins is the fires when things go wrong, when a system breaks or a counterparty like defaults. Hopefully, decentralized system is more verifiable, more auditable, more like less likely to have bad actors in it. So let's wait for the next crash. Let's see what happens.
So what are your future verticals? Have you got plan for Squid, tokenized assets, for example, RWA infrastructure, all of that?
Yeah, we work with a bunch of RWA teams. For them, it's mostly how do they access the token? How can they get people to buy the token or purchase it from anywhere? We also have, it's a bit under the radar. We're not advertising this yet, but we're doubling down on the front end layer. Something that Squid's always been really good at is apart from the infrastructure, it's having really beautiful branding, front ends, animations, good user experience. And we think that the next era of crypto apps, it's already starting to happen, are ones where cross-chain is fully abstracted. You don't even know that there's a chain. You just know that there's tokens. Think about centralized exchanges have the best, user bases of anyone in crypto and make the most money. And their user experience doesn't really mention chains in it. So we want DeFi to be able to get to that point, compete with sexes, and we're doing our part. Like, we're going to make a front end, and we're making a mobile app, which will start to sort of attack those kinds of problems in user experience. And we just want to see crypto like enter people's homes and lives. We're not as passionate about the gambling side of crypto. There's always a meta happening where it's a way to make a lot of money really quickly, but we generally see them as a bit more extractive, really fun, but we just want to focus a little bit more on replacing banks, traditional finance in everyday people's lives. Like, I'd personally like to never have a bank account, and I think we're going to get there.
Nice, great vision. And what does your team look like?
We're pretty small. We're like I think we're 20 people now. So like we're getting there. It's like medium-ish, but yeah.
That's good size.
Yeah, it's decent size. I mean, there's a lot of chains. It's a lot of work maintaining all the different chains and all those connections. But yeah, we're growing. We hired a few people recently. Really excited. Got some insane stuff coming with the branding team and marketing team, and expanded the engineering team a little bit as well. So yeah, we don't want to get too big. I think Squid is like a really special culture where everyone in the company like really cares and is pretty hands-on. And
oh, that's special.
yeah, it's been nice. It's so easy to go to work. So we're cautious of losing that. So I think we can stay pretty small, still build really well. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, you guys are definitely making a name for yourselves, and
Thanks, man.
we're about to see a big change in our platform, having the integration. So yeah, thanks very much for everything you guys are doing. We're loving it. So is everyone else. I also think I don't even think, and it's pretty obvious, we're at the beginning of what could be a monumental move for DeFi in the next few years. And yeah, it's really exciting. Really exciting.
Yeah, super excited about what you guys are doing. I can't wait to play with the app more.
Got a lot more coming. It's been
Hell
quite the all hands this week. So yeah, we've got some
really.
pretty big features dropping shortly. So, yeah, stay tuned, everyone. Anyway, look, Fig, it's been great having you. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm sure our viewers will too. We always end with this question. It's a bit of a game. It's a final one. So today's TVL of DeFi Llama, okay, or let's say today's TVL of DeFi as per DeFi Llama is $134 billion. What's your prediction for this number at midnight on the 31st of December, 2025?
Nice. And there's a prize if I win, is there? Or
Yeah, it's a lot of cool points.
Nice, yeah. Points, classic. So it's 100. Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen the chart, so it has to be a pretty random guess. But I'd say 100, and you said 138 now.
It's 134 as per today.
I'll say 142.
We're going up, are we?
I'm going up. Yeah.
Going up.
Bullish.
Everyone's gone up.
Yeah, really. Everyone's bullish.
Everyone's gone up. Some were huge,
aren't we?
Yeah.
Some were huge, like really big. Well, I'm lucky that I'm close to the end of the year.
142.
Yeah, it's minor, but
Excellent.
I think we could be in for a nice little uplift soon. We'll see.
Fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Fig. It's been great. Thanks once again. Love what you guys are doing, and yeah, hopefully get to do more with Squid, and maybe get you back on in the future.
Yeah, sounds great. Love to come back. Yeah, looking forward to working more together.